thank you for everybody for joining us today. With me, I have Carolyn Norton. She leads our cloud. She's our cloud success manager. She works a lot with Azure and she works a lot with our clients directly. And I'm Keith Goedde. I lead the cloud practice for Velosio. So, one of the topics that has been coming up has been specific around business continuity and even more specifically backups in Azure and how important they are and how important they're set up correctly. I think, we're seeing clients that as they move to Azure, they think out of the gate they get all this stuff. And just by being there, you get all these capabilities, specifically around backups. Can you talk briefly about, hey, when I move my infrastructure or start taking advantage of Azure services, do I get all this great backup stuff day one and I don't have to do anything?
It's a yes and no question. It's a yes and no answer. So one, yes, you do get it, but a lot of people assume that the cloud auto magically sets itself up, and to an extent it does, but there is still some traditional hands-on that you have to do. So when you're moving your infrastructure into the cloud, you do want to set up a tool that's available for Azure clients called Azure Backup. Microsoft obviously recognizes that in the move to the cloud, you want to protect your data. So they do provide stellar tools that is going to make sure that your environment is going to continue on in the event of a disaster, right? Whether it's something small or something catastrophic. So a lot of organizations, when they move into the cloud, unfortunately, they don't set up their Azure backup option that is available to their environment. And then when said example happens, they're kind of left to try to figure that out.
Yeah, so can you tell us a little bit about what that setup entails, right? Maybe when I was on premise, I was doing backups daily and then on a monthly backup and had different retention periods. When I move my stuff, does that just carry forward or do I need to set those retentions up in Azure?
So if you're just talking about moving your entire environment up into Azure Backup, into Azure with Azure Backup, because there is a hybrid ability where you can use Azure Backup to back up your on-premises service, but we'll talk about just Azure native servers. There is the ability to create a recovery vault. And that vault allows you to specify frequency and backups, your retention period with backups, and the resources that you want to back up. So that way, if there is, let's say, for example, there's a key critical environment that needs to be backed up a lot more frequently, you can set that up in its own particular retention and recovery period. And then other servers that can be a little less aggressive can have their own sets, but it does provide you with that flexibility so that it tailors to your business needs and whatever business continuity plans you need to execute in the cloud.
But I do need to go in and set that up, right? I don't just get it by being there, right? So you guys, now you mentioned recovery vaults, right? So let's say the server I moved up gets compromised somehow. Does that mean my backups would be compromised as well?
So your recovery vault, the nice thing about that is the data is separate from your server. So when you set up your recovery vault, let's say you have hourly backups or every 4-hour backups. The nice thing is your data is not poisoned by the infection. You always have iterations that you can go back on. And in some cases, it's usually one box. It's not all boxes, but you have the granularity to be able to pull your safe data that's been being backed up since the compromise and restore back from it.
And can I encrypt my backups like I could on-prem?
The backups are already encrypted. So when they're in the cloud, they're already natively encrypted to make sure that the information is safe and secure when it's out there in the cloud. Absolutely.
Got it. And what about cost for backup? Just relatively speaking, is it really expensive? Do I need to, is it the cost of duplicating my server or is it more just, fairly inexpensive storage costs to store and maintain those backups?
The storage, luckily with backups these days, we all recognize that data, is not often changing. So you only really need to back up the data that's actually changed. So Microsoft has been very efficient in making sure that the backup cost is not going to be astronomical, right? They want to make sure that your environment is protected, but not at a serious cost. So no, it's really a matter of storage costs, and it's not very much at all.
Right.
And it can scale with your environment. Again, the nice thing about the Azure backup is that you can, like I mentioned earlier, you can be more aggressive on some servers that need that extra care, but it's not going to come at a costly dime. You can protect those environments, be really, really secure with them, and then have your other environments that maybe you have them on and off, or you need to back them up seldomly. Again, it's very minimal cost.
Got it. I think the last thing I want to touch on, and you mentioned it earlier, was let's say I'm not quite ready to move my workloads to Azure, but I like what you're telling me around backups. Is there a way for me to back up my on-prem systems into Azure?
100%, 100%. So the nice thing about, Microsoft recognizes that maybe you're not ready to move everything to the cloud just yet. Maybe you want to leverage some of the cloud services. Maybe you want to move a couple of things here and there. So absolutely, when we're talking about Microsoft, they're always developing these tools with what's called hybrid in mind, where you can use your Azure backup to back up on-premises resources in the cloud that, again, allow your backups to be safe and protected, encrypted, and easily recoverable for your on-premises needs. So absolutely, there's an option for that.
Got it. Thank you. Well, Carolyn, as always, a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this stuff. Thank you for your time, taking a few minutes to talk to us about something that's critically important, especially given all the ransomware attacks and things like that going on right now, which is security and backup. So as always, thanks again, and thank you everybody for attending.
Thank you.